Welcome back to my channel. This channel specializes in writing about epic tales and myths from around the world. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to help me out. Today, we will dive into a story titled The Epic of Lạc Long Quân, and you see the legend of Vietnam's children of the dragon and the fairy. Here is the detailed content. Chapter 1, The Age of Dawn. When the land met the sea, before the name of Văn Lang was ever whispered by men, before the rivers carved their paths and the mountains rose to touch the sky, there was only mist. The earth was young, a sleeping giant, wrapped in fog and dreams. Heaven and sea still mingled as one, and the breath of creation hovered over the waters, like the first dawn after endless night. In that age, the world was not yet divided between land and ocean. All was fluid, a boundless expanse, where dragons swam among clouds, and celestial spirits drifted upon the wind. Lightning was the laughter of the gods, thunder their footsteps, and from that eternal dance of sky and sea was born the land that would one day be called Vietnam, the southern realm of warmth and life. The sleeping earth from the heart of the deep, mountains began to rise, not in violence, but in song. Their peaks pierced the mists, forming a necklace of green jewels across the horizon. The rivers, born from the tears of the clouds, wound their way down like silver serpents, carrying with them the breath of heaven into the waiting sea. And where river met ocean, life awoke. The land began to breathe. It was said that when the first wind blew over those newborn mountains, the whisper sounded like a promise. This shall be the land of men, children of the sky and the sea. In those days, the gods still walked among mortals. The spirit of the mountains, solemn and wise, guarded the forests with unseen eyes. The soul of the sea, ancient and fierce, ruled beneath waves of turquoise and pearl. They were not foes nor lovers, but two halves of the same eternal heart. Yet, from their silent gaze, a destiny began to stir, the flame of heaven. Above the clouds, the Jade Emperor looked down upon the newborn land. He saw the dragons of the sea weaving currents of life, and the phoenixes of the mountains scattering seeds of flame. The heavens rejoiced, for balance had been found, yin and yang, tide and stone, heaven and earth. But the emperor also saw that the world lacked guardians, beings who could bridge the realms, neither god nor beast, neither mortal nor immortal. Thus he spoke to the spirit of the East Sea. From your depths shall come a protector, born of dragon blood and the pulse of the ocean. He shall rise when the mists part to guide the southern lands. And to the mountains of the west, he said, from your sacred peaks shall descend a being of purity and grace, a fairy whose heart carries the breath of heaven. She shall walk the earth as the mother of harmony. The gods bowed. The decree was sealed. The land and sea began to move once more, shaping, breathing, preparing for the birth of destiny, the spirits of the south. In the forests that cloaked the young earth, unseen hands painted the world in green and gold. Bamboo sprouted from mist and moonlight. Birds of crimson plumage sang the first songs of dawn. Rivers shimmered with scales of silver fish, children of the dragon king of the East Sea. Every tree, every stone, every gust of wind seemed alive with meaning. The world itself felt sacred, as though waiting for someone to awaken its full heart. Deep in the ocean, dragons coiled around coral palaces of sapphire and jade. Among them was a being unlike the others, a young dragon whose eyes glowed like morning light. He was fierce but kind, strong yet patient, born to rule but not to conquer. The sea spirits whispered his name, LCC, Long Quan, the dragon lord of the LCC. Far away, on the peaks wreathed in clouds, another spirit began her descent. She was radiant as moonlight upon snow, her hair flowing like a river of night. Her laughter carried the scent of blossoms and morning dew. From the realm of the mountain god, she descended toward the valley of men. Her name would be UC, the fairy of the mountains, the first dawn. And thus the two forces, the sea and the mountain, began to awaken side by side. The tides grew stronger, reaching farther inland, while the forests deepened and the rivers spread like veins of life. Each day, the sun rose higher, painting the sky with fire and promise. It was as if the world itself was preparing for an encounter foretold by the heavens. On the horizon, where the mist met the sea, a single beam of golden light split the clouds. It touched both mountain and ocean, uniting them for the first time. The gods looked on and smiled, for they knew that soon the destiny of humankind would begin. The whisper of destiny. That night, as stars reflected upon the still waters, the dragon king of the east, sea, rose from his palace and gazed toward the mountains. He sensed a stirring in the wind, a spirit whose heart matched the rhythm of the waves. The time has come, he said. The blood of dragon and fairy shall meet, and from their union will rise a people who carry both heaven and earth within. The sea answered with a roar of waves. The mountains replied with a deep tremor. Between them the rivers gleamed like threads of fate. And in that sacred moment the world fell silent, waiting for the meeting that would shape its future. Waiting for love to bridge heaven and sea. Waiting for the birth of a nation that would one day call itself the children of the dragon and the fairy. Thus ended the first age, the age of dawn, when the land met the sea and the gods set destiny in motion. The mists had parted, the world had taken form, and in its heart burned the promise of something eternal, a story of love, sacrifice, and origin that would echo through 1,000 generations. Chapter 2: The Dragon from the Depths. Birth of LCC Long Quan beneath the endless expanse of the eastern sea, where sunlight faded into sapphire twilight. There stood a kingdom more ancient than time itself, the palace of Long Hai, realm of dragons and divine currents. Its towers of coral glowed softly in the depths, its gates guarded by serpents of light, and its halls echoed with songs older than humankind. The sea was alive, but it was restless. The dragon King Qin Dejang Vibang, ruler of the tides and guardian of the southern waters, felt the shifting pulse of creation. He had seen the mountains rise and the rivers carve their veins through the earth. He had heard the whisper of fate that spoke of a union between heaven and sea. And from that divine longing came his heir, a child of ocean and flame, destined to walk upon both water and land. The birth beneath the waves on the night when the moon aligned perfectly with the heart of the ocean. The waves grew still, not a ripple disturbed the surface. The stars themselves seemed to lean closer, their reflections dancing upon the water like lanterns of eternity. From the deepest trench, a sphere of golden light began to rise. Inside it coiled a small dragon, his scales glimmering like molten gold, his eyes shining with the fire of dawn. As he emerged from the light, the ocean trembled, every creature bowed, and the currents bent their paths. The Dragon King lifted his son in reverence. "You are LCC Long Quan, born of the sea's heart and heaven's decree. You shall be the protector of the southern realm, where the waves meet the mountains, and the people yet to come will call you Father. The infant dragon opened his eyes. In them shimmered the reflection of both the ocean's calm and the storm's fury. It was said that when he first roared, thunder rolled across the sea, and the first rain fell upon the newborn land. Thus began the age of Long Quan, the Dragon Lord destined to bridge two worlds. The training of the Dragon Prince Long Quan grew swiftly, for divine blood coursed through his veins. Under his father's guidance, he learned the songs of the tides, the secret harmonies that could calm storms and summon rain. He mastered the blades of coral and the arts of transformation, shifting from dragon to man with but a whisper. When he rose from the water, his human form shone with an aura of power, his eyes the color of the deep sea, his hair black as the ocean at midnight. Fishes followed his shadow, storms obeyed his will, even the gods of the sea bowed when he passed. But though he ruled the depths, his heart often turned toward the distant mountains, toward the world above, where clouds kissed the peaks and the scent of earth called softly through the wind. "Father," he said one day, standing before the Dragon King, "the land calls to me. I feel its breath within my soul. The people who will rise there, they are part of our destiny." Qin Dejong. Vibung gazed long into his son's eyes and saw the truth in them. He knew that the blood of dragons could not be caged beneath the waves forever. "Then go, my son," said the Dragon King. "Go to the world above. There you will find your path, and one whose heart mirrors your own. Guard the land, teach its people, and remember always the pulse of the sea." And so, with blessings from the depths, Long Quan ascended. The dragon ascends, the sea opened for him like a doorway of light. Whales sang to guide his way, dolphins danced in reverence, and even the clouds parted as he rose. When his body broke through the surface, the ocean erupted in a cascade of silver foam. The sky trembled. The mountains watched. From horizon to horizon, a golden dragon soared, his wings spreading over rivers and forests, his roar echoing across the newborn world. Wherever his shadow touched, life awakened. Forests grew thicker, rivers flowed purer, and beasts bowed their heads. The people of the early tribes saw him descend and cried out in awe, "A god has come from the sea." Taking human form, he walked among them, tall, radiant, yet gentle. He taught them to plant rice, to build homes, to tame fire, and forge tools. He taught them to respect the spirits of earth and water, to honor the balance between nature and man. In return, they called him Father of the Vyand, the protector who came from the sea to guard their land. The people of the south, under his guidance, the tribes flourished. The land blossomed with abundance. Rice fields stretched like mirrors of heaven, and the rivers teemed with life. The people worshipped him, offering songs and dances at the water's edge. Yet even as he ruled with wisdom, Long Quan often stood by the shore at twilight, gazing toward the horizon. Beyond those distant waves, he could still hear the heartbeat of the sea, his first home, his eternal mother, and deep within his soul, he felt that something was missing. The balance of the world was incomplete. The dragon of the sea was awake, but where was the spirit of the mountain? The heavens remained silent, though the winds began to change. A new presence was stirring in the highlands, a being of grace and radiance, whose destiny was bound to his own. And so, the gods prepared the next chapter in the grand design. the meeting of dragon and fairy, of ocean and sky, of Quan and whose love would give birth to a nation. Thus ended Chapter 2, The Dragon from the Depths, the tale of a prince born of sea and thunder, who rose to shape the destiny of the southern lands. And as the last wave broke upon the shore, the winds carried a whisper of what was yet to come. When the dragon meets the fairy, the world shall change forever. Chapter 3, The Fairy from the Mountains. Descent of high above the lands, where rivers met the clouds. Beyond the reach of mortal eyes, there lay a kingdom woven from mist and moonlight, the realm of the celestial peaks. Here dwelled the spirits of the mountains, children of the wind and stone, who guarded the secrets of heaven. Among them was one whose beauty and grace surpassed all others. The daughter of the mountain spirit and the dawn breeze. Her laughter was like silver bells ringing across the valleys. Her footsteps brought blossoms to bloom upon the snow. When she sang, the clouds drifted closer, and the rivers below stilled to listen. The celestial peaks revered her, not only for her beauty, but for her heart, pure as crystal, radiant with compassion. She could calm tempests, heal wounded creatures, and speak to the spirits of the forest. The immortals called her the Fairy of Spring, guardian of life, embodiment of harmony. Yet even within that paradise of eternal peace, Yusi's soul was restless, the calling of the earth. Every dawn, Yusi would stand upon the highest summit, gazing toward the horizon. Beneath the clouds stretched the vast lands of the mortal world, green valleys, shimmering rivers, and the whispering ocean far away. There, she sensed a stirring, a heartbeat that pulsed with strength and longing. It was as though the land itself was calling her name. "What lies beyond the mountains?" she once asked the ancient guardian spirit. "The world of men," he answered, "where joy and sorrow dwell together. It is a place of imperfection, yet within it lies creation, love, and destiny." Yusi bowed her head. "I feel drawn to that imperfection. There is something waiting for me there, something that sings within my heart." The guardian spirit, old as the stones themselves, studied her with sorrowful eyes. "If you descend, you will leave behind eternity. You will walk among mortals, feel pain and no loss. But you will also touch the true essence of life, and perhaps shape the fate of worlds." Her resolve did not waver. "Then let it be so. I will follow the song that calls me." And so, on the night of the first full moon of spring, Yusi descended from the heavens, the descent of the fairy. As she stepped from her crystal palace, the heavens trembled. The stars dimmed their light in reverence. A trail of radiant petals followed her as she drifted downward, her robes woven from starlight and dawn. Through the veils of mist, she passed over waterfalls that shone like liquid glass. Each mountain she touched awakened. The peaks turned golden beneath her feet, and the rivers below sang her name. When she reached the mortal realm, she landed upon a meadow hidden among the highlands, a land untouched by time. Their flowers blossomed at her feet, and the air shimmered with unseen music. But the world was different from the heavens. The wind was heavier, the ground warm and alive. She could feel the heartbeat of the earth beneath her hands, raw, vibrant, imperfect. And in that imperfection, she found beauty, unlike any she had known. "So this is the realm of men," she whispered. "How fragile, and yet how wondrous. The people of the highlands." In the valleys below, the early tribes of mortals saw strange omens in the sky. They spoke of a radiant being descending on wings of light, her face shining like the moon. When Yusi walked among them, the people bowed, trembling. But she smiled and spoke with gentleness. She healed the sick, blessed the fields, and taught them songs of the stars. She showed them how to weave cloth from silk, and how to find harmony in the wind. And wherever she went, peace followed. The beasts grew calm, the crops flourished, and even the storms bent their path to avoid her. They began to worship her as the goddess of the highlands, building altars of stone and offering wildflowers in her name. But Yusi did not seek worship. She wandered the hills and rivers, searching for the source of that call. She had felt that pulse of life that echoed deep within the world, the dream of the sea. One night, as she rested by a spring beneath a full moon, she dreamed. In her dream, she saw the endless ocean, its waves glowing with divine light. From its depths rose a dragon, vast, majestic. He looked upon her not with fire, but with recognition, as though they had known each other beyond the birth of time. The dragon spoke in a voice that shook the stars. "Mountain spirit of the pure heart, you and I are bound by the threads of creation. I am the tide, you are the wind. Where I rise, you will flow. Together we shall shape the destiny of humankind." She awoke with her heart racing. The night air shimmered with strange power. From afar, she could hear the faint roar of the sea. "The dragon," she whispered, "the one from the depths." And though she had never seen him with mortal eyes, she felt his presence, vast and ancient, moving across the lands. The prophecy of union. The next morning, as mist veiled the mountains, an old sage came to her. He bowed low and said, "O Lady of the Peaks, the heavens have spoken. A dragon lord has risen from the sea, son of the Water King. You are destined to meet him. The union of your souls will bind heaven and earth." Yusi's eyes glimmered like morning dew. "So, the voice I heard, the dream I saw, it was fate." The sage nodded solemnly. "When the dragon meets the fairy, the world shall change forever. From your union shall come 100 lives, the beginning of a nation." The wind whispered through the pines, carrying the scent of salt from the distant sea. Yusi turned her gaze toward the horizon. There, beyond the clouds, she saw a faint shimmer, as though the waves themselves were calling her name. And deep within her heart, she felt it again, that ancient rhythm, that echo of another soul waiting somewhere beyond the mountains. Thus ended Chapter 3, The Fairy from the Mountains, Descent of Yusi, the tale of a celestial maiden who left eternity to walk among mortals, and who, guided by fate and love, would soon meet the dragon lord of the sea. The heavens held their breath. The mountains waited. The ocean stirred. For destiny was about to bring Reining and Tian face to face. And from their meeting, the story of a nation would begin. Chapter 4, The Meeting of Sky and Sea. When the dragon met the fairy, the world held its breath. The mountains slept beneath a silver mist, and the sea shimmered under 1,000 stars. Between them stretched the rivers, threads of destiny weaving heaven and earth together. For countless moons, the dragon lord of the sea, LCC, Long Quan, had wandered the southern lands, his heart echoing with an unspoken longing. In the stillness of dawn, he would look toward the mountains and feel a pulse, a rhythm that called to him like a distant heartbeat. At the same time, in her highland sanctuary, the celestial maiden, Yusi, gazed toward the horizon, where the sky touched the sea. She too felt that same mysterious stirring, as if her very soul were being drawn toward something vast and ancient. Both had heard the whisper of fate, and fate was ready to reveal its design. The first encounter, it began one spring morning. The mists lifted from the valleys, and the rivers flowed bright with melted snow. The wind carried the scent of salt, the sea's breath traveling far inland. Yusi followed the call, descending from her mountain home. Her robe of white silk flowed like moonlight, and wherever her feet touched, flowers bloomed in her wake. At the same time, Long Quan journeyed inland, leaving behind the roar of the waves. His presence stirred the air, beasts fled in awe, and the rivers bent their courses to greet him. When they met, it was at the edge of a great lake, half mountain water, half tidal salt. The air shimmered with power, for two realms had converged. The Dragon Lord appeared in human form, tall and radiant, his eyes the color of storm clouds over the sea. The fairy stood upon the shore, her face calm yet luminous, her gaze deep as the dawn. For a moment, time ceased. The wind fell silent, the waters stilled. Then Long Quan spoke, his voice soft yet commanding, like the tide touching the sand. You are the one from my dreams, the light that descended from the peaks. Yusi's eyes glimmered with wonder. And you are the voice I heard within the waves, the dragon whose heart calls to mine. They stepped closer, and the world around them changed. The lake rippled with golden light. Lotus flowers bloomed from its surface, and the sky itself bent low to witness the meeting of dragon and fairy. The dance of elements. Long Quan raised his hand, and from his palm flowed a stream of pure water, circling around you, see like a living ribbon. In return, she summoned the wind, soft as song, weaving it through the water until mist and light intertwined. Their powers met, not in conflict, but in harmony. Where dragon fire met fairy wind, the first rainbow arched across the heavens, and in that radiant bridge, destiny sealed their bond. You are sea, said Yusi, smiling gently, endless and deep. And you are sky, said Long Quan, boundless and bright. He looked into her eyes, and the reflection of the heavens danced within them. It was said that, in that moment, the gods themselves fell silent, for they saw the birth of a love that would shape the world. The union of realms. They walked together through the valley, speaking not as gods, but as souls who had always known each other. Yusi told him of the mountains, the eternal calm, the purity of the clouds, the music of the wind. Long Quan told her of the sea of storms and silence, of deep beauty hidden in darkness. They learned that they were opposites, yet bound by balance. Where he brought strength, she brought grace. Where she healed, he protected. Together, they embodied yin and yang, heaven and earth, sea and mountain. Their laughter filled the valleys, and the rivers carried their song to every corner of the land. The early people who heard it said the world seemed brighter that day, that even the stars shone longer before sleep. Under the moonlight, they stood upon the lake's edge. Yusi looked up at the stars, then at him. The heavens sent me here for a reason, she whispered, and I have found it. Long Quan reached for her hand. Then let us not be divided again. Let mountain and sea unite, as do our hearts. And when their hands touched, the earth trembled softly, not in fear, but in celebration. A beam of light rose from where they stood, connecting heaven and sea, the bridge of destiny, unseen by mortal eyes, but felt in every living thing. The blessing of heaven that night. A storm gathered over the land, not of destruction, but of renewal. Thunder rolled like drums of the gods. Lightning danced across the sky. illuminating the peaks and the waves. From the heavens descended a radiant figure, the Jade Emperor's envoy, guardian of celestial balance. He beheld the dragon and the fairy, hand in hand, and spoke with a voice that shook the mountains. By decree of the heavens, your union shall bless the world. From your love shall rise a new race, the children of dragon and fairy. Their hearts will bear the strength of the sea and the grace of the mountain. They shall be known as the LCC Viate, and they will inherit the land you sanctify today. The envoy lifted his staff, and golden light rained upon them. The storm faded, the winds grew calm, and the lake turned still as glass. UC felt warmth flow through her, not divine flame, but the pulse of mortal life. And in that moment, she knew love had bound her not only to LCC Long Quan, but to the destiny of humankind. The dawn of a new world. When morning came, the mist lifted to reveal a sky washed clean by light. The dragon and the fairy stood upon a hill overlooking the vast southern lands. From there, they saw rivers winding like silver serpents, forests rising in green waves, and distant mountains touching the horizon. This shall be our home, said LCC Long Quan, a land of balance where sea meets sky. UC nodded, and from our love, this land shall know its first dawn. The wind carried their words across the earth, and thus began the era of harmony, the age of the dragon and the fairy. The people sang, the mountains bowed, and even the waves whispered in reverence. For heaven and earth had touched, and life would never be the same again. Chapter 5, The 100-Egg Legend. Birth of a nation. The mountains were silent, the sea at rest. Between heaven and earth, a new realm bloomed, the land of the dawn, where mists kissed the forests and rivers sang beneath golden skies. It was here that the Dragon Lord LCC, Long Quan, and the celestial fairy UC built their home. They made their dwelling where the hills met the water, a sacred place, neither of sky nor sea, but of both. The land was fertile and alive. Rice sprouted where their feet touched, and streams of crystal water flowed wherever they gazed, and in that harmony, their love deepened. The blessing of creation, the seasons turned. Spring returned with a gentleness unlike any before. UC felt a light growing within her, not of the heavens, but of life itself. It was soft at first, a melody that whispered in her veins, then stronger, brighter, until she knew the gods had blessed her with a miracle. When she told LCC Long Quan, his eyes shone with both joy and awe. "It is the will of heaven," he said. "Our love has taken root in the heart of this world." And so they waited, while the earth held its breath. On the day when the sun stood highest in the sky, a divine light bathed the land. From the heart of UC's being, there came not one child, but a sacred egg sac, shimmering like the dawn. It pulsed with warmth, alive with the essence of dragon flame and fairy wind. The heavens trembled as it grew, until one morning it split open, revealing 100 eggs, each glowing with celestial light. From those eggs, 100 children were born, fair and radiant, their eyes bright with intelligence and kindness. They did not cry as mortal infants do. Instead, they smiled, and their laughter rang like the music of spring. The children of dragon and fairy. The Dragon Lord lifted the first child and said, "You are my son, heir to the blood of the sea. Your veins carry the strength of the tides and the calm of the depths." UC held another and whispered, "And you, my daughter, are born of the mountain's spirit and the light of the sky." Each child bore a mark, some with scales faint as moonlight upon their arms, others with a glow like sunrise in their hair. They were neither gods nor mortals, but something greater, the bridge between heaven and earth. The couple built a great hall of stone and wood, surrounded by rice fields and clear streams. The 100 children grew swiftly, learning the ways of both worlds. From their father, they learned courage, the mastery of the sea, the language of storms. From their mother, they learned compassion, the wisdom of the mountains, the art of peace and harmony. The people of the land came to see them and bowed in reverence, calling them the 100 spirits, the first ancestors of all tribes. The kingdom of harmony under LCC Long Quan's guidance. The land flourished. He taught his people how to dig canals, tame rivers, and build homes upon the fertile plains. He brought the secrets of fire and metal, of healing herbs and the stars' rhythm. You see, from her celestial grace, taught them weaving, music, and the art of nurturing life. She showed them how to plant rice with reverence, how to honor the spirits of stone, water, and tree. Together, they created the first kingdom of Văn Lang, not through conquest, but through harmony. The people lived in peace, united by their love for the land. And at the heart of that peace stood the 100 children, symbols of the eternal bond between sky and sea. The shadow of division, yet even paradise bears the seed of change. As the years passed, the Dragon Lord grew restless. The call of the ocean began to echo once more in his heart. He would often stand at the shore, gazing upon the horizon, where the waves shimmered like liquid glass. Yusi noticed his silence. "You miss the sea," she said softly. LCC Long Quan turned to her, his expression filled with love and sorrow. "The sea is my blood, my first breath. Though I dwell upon the earth, the tides still call to me. I am of the water, as you are of the sky." Yusi looked toward the mountains. The wind carried the scent of pine and stone, her true home, and she understood. They were bound by love, yet born of different worlds. The promise of unity. One night, beneath the full moon, they gathered their children. The air was heavy with silence, as if the heavens themselves watched. LCC Long Quan spoke first. "My beloved, our union has brought forth life and peace, but I cannot stay far from the sea, nor can you live long away from the mountains. We must part, yet not in sorrow." Tears glimmered in Yusi's eyes, but her voice was calm. "Then let us divide our children, that the world may remain balanced. You shall take 50 with you to the sea, and I shall take 50 to the mountains. But though apart, we will forever remain one family." LCC Long Quan nodded, his heart heavy yet steadfast. "If ever you or our children are in need, call upon me. I will hear you through the wind and the water." And so, beneath the sacred moon, the 100 children were divided. 50 followed their mother into the highlands. 50 followed their father into the depths. The partying was sorrowful, yet the land itself seemed to glow with reverence, for this was not an end, but a beginning, the birth of a nation. From that day forth, the descendants of the dragon and the fairy spread across the southern lands. Those of the mountains became keepers of the earth, builders, farmers, guardians of the forests. Those of the sea became navigators, fishermen, warriors of the tides. But though separated by mountain and wave, they never forgot their shared blood. In their songs, they called themselves Conren Yang, Shou Tian, children of the dragon and the fairy. And even now, when thunder echoes in the mountains and the sea roars below, the people say, "It is father calling to mother, and mother answering through the wind." Thus was born the Vietnamese people, strong as the sea, gentle as the mountain, eternal as the bond between love and destiny. Chapter 6: The Peaceful Kingdom of Văn Lang. The Age of Harmony. The dawn mist rose gently over the valleys. In the mountain's heart, where Yusi had led her 50 children, the land was rich and kind. Rivers flowed like silver ribbons through emerald fields, and birds sang in the canopies of ancient forests. This was the beginning of a new age, one shaped not by gods or storms, but by the will of their descendants, the children of the dragon and the fairy. The rise of Văn Lang. Under the guidance of Yusi, her people learned to live in harmony with the earth. They built their homes from bamboo and wood, surrounded by rice terraces that glowed like mirrors beneath the sun. They hunted in the forests, fished in the rivers, and honored the spirits of land and sky with incense and song. Among her sons, the eldest shone brightest, wise, strong, and kind. He listened to the cries of the people, healed disputes with fairness, and spoke with the calm of mountain winds. When he came of age, Yusi placed upon his head a crown woven from the first golden rice stalks, and declared, "You shall be HNG, the first king of Văn Lang, ruler of the lands where our people dwell." The tribes rejoiced, for they saw in him both the flame of the dragon and the light of the fairy. From that moment, Văn Lang was born, a kingdom not founded on war or conquest, but on unity, compassion, and wisdom. The laws of harmony. King Ekenji Vibong built his capital in Fangshou, where the mountains watched over the plains like ancient guardians. He gathered the leaders of each tribe, the Sn Mountain, the Three River, the Giant Field, and the Misi Forest clans, and spoke, "We are many in body, but one in spirit. Our roots are the same, born of the dragon and the fairy. Let no tribe forget this bond, for it is the breath of our land." He created the first laws, not written on stone, but spoken with solemn oath. Each tribe would share in the fruits of their harvests. Each festival would honor both Father Sea and Mother Mountain. No man would raise a blade against his kin, for to harm one's brother was to wound the spirit of Văn Lang itself. The people lived by these words, and peace reigned. The gifts of the land. In this time of serenity, the gods smiled upon the realm. The rice grew tall and golden, the rivers teemed with fish, the forests overflowed with fruits and herbs. From the earth rose precious stones, and from the sky came gentle rains. Yusi often stood at the mountain's peak, her heart full, though she missed the sea and the voice of her beloved LCC Long Quan. She knew he was near, for when storms rolled across the horizon, she could hear the whisper of his name in the thunder. Sometimes, in the deep of night, the winds would carry his promise. When the sea meets the sky, we shall meet again. The festival of ancestry, to honor their divine parents. King HNG Vibong proclaimed a great celebration each year, the festival of the dragon and the fairy. At dawn, villagers from all corners of the kingdom gathered at the foot of the sacred mountain. They brought offerings, rice, wine, fish from the sea, fruits from the forest, and the first grains of the harvest. Bonfires were lit, and the drums echoed like the heartbeat of the earth. The priests sang the sacred hymn, "We are the children of two worlds. From the sea's breath and the sky's light, we are born. Let our hearts remain one, though waves and peaks divide." When the flames reached the sky, the people saw two forms dancing in the fire, a dragon of light and a fairy of silver mist circling each other in eternal embrace. and all who witnessed it wept, for they knew their ancestors still watched over them. The 12 tribes under H&G Viang's rule, Văn Lang, grew into 12 great regions, each led by a trusted lord called LCC Hai or LCC Tang. They governed not as tyrants, but as stewards, protectors of the people and the land. The mountains gave iron and bronze. The valleys offered rice and fruit. The coasts provided salt and pearls. The people traded, celebrated, and lived in balance. It was said that in those days, no one locked their doors at night, for there was no theft, no greed, and no hatred, only the echo of songs carried by the wind. The golden age for generations, peace endured. Children learned to weave, to sing, to till the land, and to speak of the dragon and fairy as living spirits within their blood. The kingdom's borders stretched far, yet no wars came, for unity was their might, and gratitude their shield. Elders would say to the young, "Remember, child, the blood in your veins runs from the depths of the sea to the height of the sky. You are born of greatness. Live with honor, and the land will bless you." And so they did. The legacy, as the years turned to centuries, HNG VNG grew old. He stood once more upon the mountain, looking down upon the vast green plains his people had tamed. The scent of rice fields and blooming lotus filled the air, the fragrance of peace. He whispered to the wind, "Father, Mother, your children have kept your promise. Though separated by wave and cloud, we have remained one heart." A soft breeze swept across the land, carrying the salt of the sea. Some say that in that moment, LCC Long Quan's spirit rose from the ocean, and UC's light descended from the sky. Together, they embraced above the mountain, their forms merging into the clouds, eternal guardians of Văn Lang. And below, the people bowed as one, saying, "We are the children of the dragon and the fairy. Forever shall our land be united." Thus ended the age of harmony, the first golden era of the Vietnamese people, a time when gods and mortals walked together, and the dream of unity became the soul of a nation. Chapter 7: The Rise of the HNG Kings. Guardians of the sacred land, the morning sun bathed the land of Văn Lang in golden light. Mist curled above the rivers like the breath of sleeping dragons. From the mountains to the sea, life thrived. Fields of rice shimmered like liquid jade, and the songs of farmers echoed through the valleys. This was the age of the HNG Kings, the sons of heaven and earth, guardians of a land born from love and sacrifice, the dawn of civilization after the passing of the first king, HNG Vibong I. His spirit was enshrined upon the sacred mountain of Jilin. From his lineage came a line of noble rulers, each bearing the same name, HNG Vibong, to honor the unity of the people and the eternal bond of their bloodline. Under their rule, the people of Văn Lang prospered. They learned to shape bronze into tools and weapons, forging blades that gleamed like sunlight and drums that thundered like the heart of the earth. The HNG Kings taught their people how to mark the seasons, how to harness the rivers, how to call upon the rain through sacred rituals. They built roads between villages, and for the first time, the tribes spoke one common language, the language of the Viet people. Everywhere, the land bloomed. From the coasts of the East Sea to the misty northern hills, the realm of Văn Lang pulsed with life, guided by the wisdom of its divine kings. The Bronze Age of the LCC Viet. It was under HNG Vibong III that the great bronze drums were born. the Hong Sn drums, symbols of power, unity, and spirit. Crafted by the finest artisans, their surfaces were carved with spirals of clouds, birds in flight, and warriors dancing beneath the sun. When struck, the drums did not merely sound, they spoke. Their echo reached across mountains and rivers, carrying messages of war, peace, and celebration. When the drum calls, said HNG Vibang, every heart in Văn Lang must beat as one. And so it was. The drums became sacred, played to honor ancestors, to summon rain, and to celebrate harvests. From this age came the soul of Vietnamese culture, respect for the past, harmony with nature, and unyielding unity. The kingdom of the Red River, at the heart of Văn Lang, flowed the Red River, lifeblood of the nation. Each season, it flooded the valleys, blessing the soil with fertile silt. The HNG kings ordered the building of embankments and canals, turning wild waters into nurturing streams. Villages flourished along its banks. Children played among the rice paddies, and elders told stories of the Dragon Father and Fairy Mother. Temples rose, smoke of incense curling toward the heavens, prayers offered for good harvests, for peace, for the prosperity of their descendants. The kingdom was simple, yet radiant. No marble palaces, no walls of gold, only thatched roofs and open hearts, bound by the same dream, to live as one with the land. The spirit of the people, unlike other realms built on conquest, Văn Lang's power lay in unity. Its strength was not in armies, but in spirit. When floods came, the people worked side by side to rebuild. When droughts struck, they shared what they had, never letting one go hungry. Their bond was deeper than blood, it was destiny, and in their festivals they remembered their divine roots. At every spring they offered rice cakes, BNH, CHNG, and BNH Day, symbols of earth and sky. The round cake honored the heavens, the square the land, bound by gratitude and faith. The HNG king smiled upon their devotion. Let these cakes be our eternal offering, he declared. For we are the children of balance between dragon and fairy, between sky and soil. Thus was born one of the oldest traditions of the Viet people, carried through millennia. The threat beyond the mountains, but peace, like the morning dew, is never eternal. From the northern mountains came rumors of invaders' tribes, seeking to claim the fertile plains of Văn Lang. They crossed rivers and forests, wielding iron weapons and burning villages along their path. When news reached the capital, HNG Vibang gathered his council beneath the sacred banyan tree. Our fathers gave us this land through love and unity, he said. Now we must defend it with courage and faith. The call to arms was sounded. The bronze drums thundered across the valleys. Farmers laid down their plows and took up spears. Women and children carried food to the warriors. The entire kingdom rose as one. The invaders, though fierce, could not withstand the spirit of a united people. Under banners woven with dragon motifs, the soldiers of Văn Lang fought with the fury of waves and the strength of mountains. At last, the enemies were driven back beyond the borders. When the drums fell silent, the land once again knew peace. HNG Vibang looked upon his people and said, "This is the strength of our ancestors, not in steel or flame, but in unity of heart." The legacy of the HNG king's years passed into centuries. Each HNG king ruled with wisdom, preserving the traditions of the first. Temples were built upon the hills to honor their line, and each spring the people climbed the sacred mountain to pay tribute. They brought incense, rice, and songs, not for gods afar, but for their own ancestors. For the people of Van Lang knew divinity lived not only in heaven, but in their very blood. Eternal guardians. When the last HNG king grew old, he stood atop Jialan Mountain, gazing at the red river shimmering like a golden serpent. He whispered to the wind, "May this land forever be united in peace, in strength, in love." And as his spirit rose to the heavens, thunder rumbled across the horizon, a dragon's roar echoing through the ages. From that day on, the people called the land JT, the ancestral land, and vowed to protect it with their lives. Thus ended the age of the HNG kings, the dawn of Vietnamese civilization, a legacy of unity, courage, and harmony that would endure through countless storms of history. And even now, when the people of Vietnam gather each spring at the HNG temple, the mountain wind carries the whisper of their ancestors. Remember your roots, for you are children of the dragon and the fairy. Chapter 8. The Trials of Van Lang. Shadows on the horizon. The sun that once shone bright over Van Lang began to dim. The fields still swayed with rice, and the rivers still sang their ancient songs. Yet in the wind there lingered a heaviness, a whisper of change. The golden age of the HNG kings was nearing its twilight. The weight of time generations had passed since the days of the first king. The people still honored the spirits of the dragon and the fairy, still climbed Jialan Mountain every spring to bow before their ancestors. But time, relentless and silent, wears down even mountains. The later kings were not as wise as their forebears. Some grew content in luxury, others distracted by flattery and comfort. The great unity that once bound the tribes began to fray. The rivers silted, the forests grew wild and untamed. Floods struck the plains, destroying harvests. Droughts followed, cracking the soil and hearts of men alike. The people prayed to the heavens, burning incense, until the air grew thick with smoke. But the gods remained silent, and in that silence, doubt crept in. The fading of harmony. Old rivalries, long buried under peace, began to rise once more. The 12 regions of Van Lang, once bound by love and law, started to drift apart. Some LCC lords claimed more power than they were given. Others refused to send tribute to the capital. Petty disputes flared into skirmishes. Neighbors turned against neighbors. The bronze drums, once a symbol of unity, now thundered in warning, their sacred echoes twisted into the rhythm of war. King HNG, Vibong the 18th, the last of his line, stood before his council with grief in his eyes. "We are the children of the same blood," he said. "Why do we fight as strangers?" But the council hall was silent. The hearts of men had grown deaf to harmony. The wrath of nature, as if reflecting human discord, the land itself rebelled. Storms swept through the coasts, tearing apart fishing villages. The Red River overflowed, swallowing fields in muddy torrents. In the mountains, lightning struck forests ablaze for days. The people cried, "The gods are angry. The ancestors turn away from us." Priests sacrificed rice, animals, even precious bronze to the heavens. But the sky answered only with thunder. In those dark days, the people began to lose faith, not only in their rulers, but in themselves. The first shadows, while Van Lang trembled, danger crept from beyond its borders. From the northern plains came strange warriors, their faces painted, their weapons forged of cold iron. They moved like storms, swift and merciless. raiding villages, taking slaves, burning rice fields. Messengers fled to the capital, breathless and afraid. "The invaders are upon us," they cried. King Hng Vibung called upon the tribes once more. The bronze drums were struck, deep and solemn, echoing across mountains and rivers, but few came. The unity that had once summoned thousands now drew only silence. Each tribe guarded its own, unwilling to sacrifice for the greater good. Still, the king refused to yield. "If no one will stand beside me," he said, "then I shall stand alone, for this land is not mine, but the blood of our ancestors. The spirit awakens." As the invaders drew near the sacred mountain, the last Hng king climbed to the altar of his forefathers. He knelt, lighting incense that flickered weakly in the storm wind. "Father Lcc Long Quan, Mother, you see," he whispered, "your children are in peril. The land you gave us trembles. If it is our fate to fall, let us fall with honor." Thunder roared. The wind howled through the temple, and for a brief moment, he saw two forms, a great dragon coiling through the clouds, and a radiant fairy descending in light. Their voices filled the air, neither sound nor word, but the pulse of the earth itself. "Our blood flows in your veins. As long as one child stands, the spirit of Văn Lang shall never die." Strength filled the king's heart. He descended the mountain and rallied the few warriors who remained, farmers, hunters, and youths untested by war. Together they stood before the enemy, their banners woven with the dragon and fairy sigils fluttering against the storm. The battle of the sacred river at dawn. The two armies met on the banks of the Red River. Iron clashed against bronze, fire against faith. The ground trembled beneath the fury of battle. The Hng king fought at the front lines, his spear gleaming like lightning. Though outnumbered, the warriors of Văn Lang fought with the strength of 10, for they knew they were defending not just land, but the spirit of their ancestors. By nightfall, the river ran red with the blood of heroes. The invaders retreated, though the victory came at terrible cost. The king stood amidst the fallen, his armor shattered, his breath heavy. He looked to the heavens and whispered, "We have held them back, but for how long?" The twilight of Văn Lang peace returned, fragile and uncertain. The people rebuilt what they could, but the kingdom had changed. The great cities were scarred, the fields burned, and the drums silent. The once mighty Văn Lang was now a shadow of its glory, its unity fractured, its power dimmed. And yet, in the quiet of the night, as the moon rose over the sacred mountain, one could still hear the echo of the old song, faint but alive. "We are the children of the dragon and the fairy. Our land may tremble, but our spirit shall never fade." The eternal promise. When the last Hng king passed away, the people buried him atop Jialan mountain beside his ancestors. They built a great stone altar and carved upon it words that would outlive empires. "Here rest the guardians of the sacred land. Though kingdoms may fall and rivers may change, the heart of Văn Lang shall endure forever." And so it was. For even as darkness loomed, from the ashes of Văn Lang would rise new nations, new heroes, and the eternal soul of Vietnam, steadfast as the mountains, endless as the sea. Chapter 9. The Birth of ULCC, the Legacy Reborn. When the last light of Văn Lang faded beyond the mountains, the spirit of the dragon and the fairy did not perish. It lingered, quiet, unseen, waiting to rise again through the heart of a new king. And in the ashes of the old world, a name began to echo, that Phn, the heir of two bloodlines. Si Piachan was born of noble blood, a descendant of the Vac tribe to the west, and through his mother, of the LCC lineage itself. From childhood, he was said to have eyes like molten bronze and a voice that carried the calm of rivers and the strength of thunder. He was raised among the mountains, where mist curled around peaks like sleeping dragons. There, he learned the ways of both the warrior and the sage, wielding the spear by day and meditating beside sacred springs by night. When he came of age, he gazed toward the east, where the ruins of Văn Lang still smoldered beneath the sun. He knelt before the rising dawn and swore, "The land of the dragon and fairy shall not vanish in sorrow. From its tears I will forge a new realm, stronger, wiser, eternal." The unification, the tribes that once belonged to Văn Lang were weary, torn by war and famine. Yet, when Si Piachan appeared, they saw in him something familiar, something divine. He spoke not as a conqueror, but as a son calling his family home. "We have all suffered," he said before the gathering of chieftains, "but we share the same breath, the same ancestors, the same sacred mountains. Let us unite, not under fear, but under faith." His words stirred the hearts of men. The banners of the dragon and fairy rose once more, fluttering beside his own, the golden bird of the west, symbol of the Vac lineage. Through both wisdom and strength, Vac Piachan brought peace to the tribes. He rebuilt the temples, restored the fields, and called his kingdom ULCC, the union of U Viet and LCC Viet, a marriage of mountains and rivers, the citadel of the spiral shell at the heart of his new kingdom. And Dejong Vibong, as that Piachan now called himself, sought to build a capital worthy of the gods. He chose a place by the Red River, surrounded by forests and mist, Siloa. But when his men began to raise its walls, strange things occurred. Each night, the earth quaked, and by dawn the walls had crumbled, as if struck by unseen hands. Priests performed rituals, generals doubled the guard, yet the ruin continued. Finally, An Dejong Vibong climbed the sacred hill and prayed, "If this land is cursed, then let it take my life. But if it still belongs to our ancestors, send me a sign." The wind fell silent, the moon shone bright, and from the lake beneath the hill, a golden turtle emerged, its shell glimmering like dawn over bronze. "Do not despair, O King of ULCC, spoke the turtle spirit, voice deep as the river's heart. "The walls fall not by curse, but because the land has not yet accepted you. Take this claw, the token of the gods. Build your citadel upon the spiral, the path of eternity." The turtle vanished into light, leaving behind a single golden claw. And Dejong Vibong followed the spirit's command. The citadel was rebuilt in the shape of a spiral shell, winding inward like the cycle of life itself. No storm, no enemy, no spell could shake its walls. Thus rose Siloa Citadel, the heart of ULCC, fortress of legend, symbol of divine favor, the gift of the turtle god. When the citadel was complete, the turtle spirit returned once more. It placed its glowing claw upon the king's hands and said, "Forge this into the heart of your bow, and it shall guard your people, as long as your faith is pure. No enemy shall conquer you, LCC." Under the command of divine craftsmen, the sacred bow Inchthine was born. It gleamed with celestial light, its string woven from threads of dragon silk. With a single arrow, it could fell an army. Yet An Dejong Vibong, wise beyond pride, kept it hidden, a weapon of last resort, not of conquest. The Golden Age years passed, and ULCC flourished. Fields of rice shimmered like gold under the sun. Trade flowed through rivers. Temples sang with music, and the people spoke of peace as if it were eternal. And Dejong Vibong ruled with calm wisdom, guided always by the lessons of the past. Strength alone is fleeting, he would say. Only harmony endures. He married a queen of the southern lands and had a daughter, Mu Shou, whose beauty and innocence were said to rival the dawn. All seemed well, but in the far north, the eyes of ambition turned once more toward the south. The shadow of ambition, a new power had risen. The kingdom of Nam Viet, ruled by the cunning and ambitious Triu. He admired ULCZ's strength and envied its peace. His spies brought tales of the king's sacred bow, of walls no army could breach. Triu smiled. Then I shall conquer, not with war, but with the heart. He sent his son, Trung III, to see Loa under the guise of peace and marriage. And thus began the tragedy that would test the very soul of ULCC, the legacy reborn as the sun set behind the citadel walls. And Dejong Vibong stood atop the spiral tower, gazing across his kingdom. He heard the wind whisper through the forests, the rivers hum with life, and in them he felt the pulse of his ancestors. The spirit of the dragon and fairy still flowed through the land, binding every heart. He bowed to the horizon and murmured, "May the flame of Van Lang never die. May ULCC rise as its dawn." In that moment, the golden turtle appeared once more in the lake below, watching, silent, knowing that destiny was already moving toward sorrow. For peace, no matter how divine, must always face its trial. Chapter 10. The Fall of ULCC. The tears of Mu Shou. The moon hung pale over the citadel of Siloa. Its walls, once invincible, gleamed like silver under the quiet night. Inside those walls lived peace and love. But even the most sacred fortress cannot guard the human heart. The princess and the stranger, Mu Shou, daughter of An Dejong Vibong, was gentle as spring mist. Her laughter filled the palace gardens, and wherever she walked, flowers seemed to bloom. When Trung III, the northern prince, arrived at Siloa as an envoy of peace, the court rejoiced. He was young, graceful, and spoke with wisdom beyond his years. The king, desiring lasting harmony, welcomed him with open arms. Mu Shou, curious and kind, guided him through the citadel, its towers, lakes, and the sacred bow hidden within the royal chamber. Love, quiet as dew, began to grow between them. At first, it was innocent, two hearts meeting in the garden under drifting petals. But beneath that tenderness lay the shadow of destiny, the whisper of deception. Each night, when the moonlight touched the citadel's stones, Trung Thi's heart wrestled with guilt. His father, Triu, had sent him not for peace, but for secrets. "Win her heart," Triu had said. "Through love, the bow shall fall into our hands." Trung III loved Mu Shou, that was true. But he also loved his father and his duty. When Mu Shou, in her innocence, showed him the sacred bow, believing in his love and their unity, Trung Thi's fate was sealed. He memorized the divine mechanism of the golden bow, the very heart of ULC's strength. And one night, under tears and trembling, he whispered, "If we are ever parted, scatter feathers from your cloak along your path, so I may find you again, even through 1,000 storms." Mu Shou, believing his words were love, not treachery, nodded. She pressed her forehead to his chest and sealed the doom of her kingdom. The fall of the citadel weeks later, Thunder rolled across the northern horizon. Tri-US armies marched south, banners like storm clouds blotting the sky. And Dejang Vibang was calm. He strode to the sacred chamber, lifted the golden bow, and fitted the arrow. But when he drew the string, nothing. The bow was dead, the magic gone. He froze. The room was silent, except for the distant drums of war. Realization struck his heart like a blade of ice. We are betrayed. The northern legions breached the walls of Siloa. Fire consumed the towers, and chaos swallowed the capital. And Dejang Vibang, with Musho beside him, fled toward the southern seas. Behind them, the city of ULCC, the dream of two bloodlines, burned like a dying star. The pursuit, the king rode through forests, rivers, and mountains, guided by the gods' fading grace. Yet the enemy was relentless, and Triu's soldiers followed the trail of swan feathers that fluttered from Musho's cloak, the very sign she had promised to her lover. Each feather, white as snow, marked the path of her father's doom. When they reached the sea, and Dejang Vibang stopped. Before them stretched endless waves, behind the roar of approaching war. He turned to his daughter, his eyes deep with sorrow. "My child, the enemy hunts us without fail. Tell me who guided them." Musho wept. Her heart, pure and unaware, did not yet understand. "Father, I know not. Perhaps my husband follows me to protect us." The truth struck Dejang Vibang like lightning. He looked up at the heavens, tears of rage and heartbreak mixing with the rain. Heaven and earth, my blood has betrayed me. The return of the turtle spirit. At that moment, the sea parted. The golden turtle spirit rose once more from the depths, its eyes glowing with divine fire. "King of ULCC," it thundered, "the betrayal lies beside you." Musho fell to her knees, realization dawning too late. "Father, I did not know. I only loved." And Dejang Vibang closed his eyes. He raised his sword, voice trembling but resolute. "The heart that brings ruin must pay the debt of loyalty. I strike not from hatred, but to cleanse the name of our blood." The blade fell, the sea wept, red. The turtle spirit bowed its head. "Come, O king, your duty is done. Return with me to the realm beneath the waves." And Dejang Vibang stepped upon the turtle's shell, vanishing into the ocean mists, leaving behind only silence and sorrow. The death of Trung III. When the war ended, Triu triumphed, yet victory brought no joy. Trung III, searching among the ruins, followed the trail of feathers to the shore where his beloved had fallen. He found her body, pale as moonlight, eyes closed as if in peaceful sleep. He held her close, whispering, "My love, I have found you, but what remains to find?" He carried her to the well in the palace courtyard, where the water reflected her face. There he leaped, joining her in eternal silence. It is said that when lovers bathed their pearls in that well, the gems shone brighter, for they had touched the tears of Musho and Trung III, whose love, though doomed, remained pure in death. The legacy of sorrow and honor years passed. The citadel of Siloa became a relic, its walls overgrown with moss and memory. But the story of Musho and Dejang Vibang lived on, not as shame, but as warning. The people remembered. Faith must walk with wisdom. Love must bow to loyalty. And though the kingdom fell, the spirit of the dragon and fairy endured. From the ashes of ULCC rose a new will, stronger, wiser, unbroken. For every tear of Musho became a drop of the ocean that guards Vietnam's shores, a sea that remembers both love and loss. Chapter 11. The Spirit of the Mountains and the Sea. The immortal guardian's night fell over the land of ULCC. The fires of war had long faded, leaving only ashes scattered across the silent earth. But in that silence, something eternal began to stir. It was not the end, it was the awakening, the whisper of the sea. Deep beneath the eastern sea, where the water glowed like liquid jade, the dragon lord LCC Long Quan watched over his realm. His eyes, vast and ancient, shimmered with sorrow and pride. He had seen kingdoms rise and fall, the cycle of peace and betrayal, the endless dance of men and gods. Yet even as mortal empires perished, he felt the pulse of his people still beating within the soil and rivers above. From the coral throne, he turned toward the shore. A whisper, faint as moonlight, reached him, the last breath of his bloodline, the cry of Ndijung Vibang, fading into the depths. Father of the South, the fire of your children dims. Will you let the sea swallow their song? The Dragon King rose. The waves parted, and from his chest, golden light streamed upward, piercing the heavens. It carried the echo of 1,000 hearts, the eternal vow of the dragon's kin. Never, he roared, as long as the waters breathe and the winds remember, my spirit shall guard them all. The call of the mountains. Far away, in the high mists of the Trong Sn range, you see the celestial mother awoke from her centuries of sleep. Her tears had become morning dew. Her voice, the wind through pine and stone. She heard the call of her beloved from the depths below and opened her arms to the sky. Between her palms, the clouds gathered, forming shapes of her lost children, the sons and daughters who had once followed her up the mountains. They are scattered, she whispered, but their hearts remain one. I shall watch them as the mountains watch the earth. From her spirit bloomed forests, rivers, and sacred springs. Wherever she walked, the land turned fertile and green, nourished by her eternal love. The mountains became her body, the rivers her flowing hair, and in every echo of the wind, her lullaby could be heard, soft, sorrowful, and divine. The union of heaven and earth one dawn, when the mists of the mountains met the foam of the sea. The two divine spirits, LCC, Long Quan, and UC, met again. The sky itself trembled. From east to west, thunder rolled like drums of the gods, and light poured upon the land. Beloved, spoke the Dragon Lord, though we dwell apart, you in the mountains, I in the sea, our hearts are still bound by our children. Yes, answered the fairy mother, her eyes like dawn over the peaks. They have suffered, but they endure. Their spirit is ours, and ours is theirs. They looked down together upon the land, upon the rice fields shimmering in the light, upon the rivers winding like veins of silver, upon the people who still prayed to them in the old tongue. Then let us become the guardians, said LCC Long Quan, not as gods above, but as the breath within their soil. Let our love be their strength, replied UC, our unity their destiny. And with that vow, they reached out their hands. When their palms touched, a great wind swept the land, neither storm nor tempest, but the pulse of life itself. The mountains glowed, the seas sang. From that day forth, wherever the land met the ocean, a quiet hum could be heard, the eternal song of the dragon and the fairy. The guardians awaken in times of peace. They slept, resting in the deep. But when the land was threatened by flood, by fire, or by invader, their spirits rose again. The people told tales of dragons seen in the waves, their eyes like twin suns, roaring to scatter storms. They told of a woman's voice among the mountains, calling lost travelers home, guiding heroes to victory. Sometimes, when the people of Vietnam gathered to honor their ancestors, the air shimmered with warmth, and the scent of sea salt and mountain mist filled the wind. The elders would smile and whisper, "The father and mother are here." The legacy of the dragon and the fairy, from their divine union came the balance of yin and yang, of heaven and earth. LCC, Long Quan, fierce, protective, like the boundless sea. You see, gentle, nurturing, like the eternal mountains. Together, they formed the soul of a people who could bend without breaking, who could suffer yet never surrender. Every Vietnamese child, from the Red River to the Southern Delta, carried in their veins the whisper of that ancient promise to live with honor, to love their land as the gods loved it before them. The eternal oath, 1,000 years passed. Empires rose, fell, and rose again. Foreign armies came and went like waves, but the land remained, guarded by unseen hands. And when the people of Vietnam looked toward the mountains or out to the sea, they did not see separation. They saw unity, two halves of one eternal whole. For the dragon and the fairy had never truly left. They lived on in every storm, in every seed, in every heartbeat of their children. As the poets wrote, "Where the mountains rise, there lies the heart of UC. Where the sea breathes, there dwells the soul of LCC Long Quan. Together, they keep the flame of our nation eternal." Chapter 12, The Eternal Bloodline. Children of the dragon and the fairy, the dawn rose over the eastern sea, painting the sky in colors of fire and gold. Each wave whispered a story. Each mountain breathed an ancient name. The age of gods had ended, yet their spirit endured, for the children of the dragon and the fairy still walked the land, carrying within them the pulse of immortality, the flame that never dies, from the time of Văn Lang to ULCC, and from ULCC to the dynasties that followed. The blood of LCC, Long Quan, and UC flowed through countless generations. When the rivers flooded, the people built dikes and stood firm. When foreign powers came, they rose like waves, united as one. And when peace returned, they sowed rice, sang to the earth, and honored the gods with offerings of incense and song. They called themselves Conranyang, Shotian, children of the dragon and the fairy, a name not of pride, but of remembrance, a vow that their ancestors' love, sacrifice, and unity would never fade. The trials of a nation through the centuries, storms returned in many forms. Invaders came from the north, bringing iron and greed. Others from the west and east sought to break the spirit of the land. But each time, from the forests of the Trong Sen to the waters of the Mekong, the call of the ancestors rose again. The farmers laid down their plows and took up spears. The scholars wrote words of resistance and faith. The mothers whispered prayers to the mountains and seas, asking the dragon and fairy to guard their sons. And when the wind carried the scent of battle, it was said that the waves of the eastern sea roared louder, and the mist of the mountains grew thicker, as if the ancient guardians themselves had awoken once more. "The spirit of LCC Long Quan and UC lives in us," they cried. "We are their breath, their fire, their eternal vow." The people of the rising land, as centuries passed, the land of the Viet, grew from small villages into kingdoms, and from kingdoms into empires. But no matter how the world changed, one truth remained. The Vietnamese heart always beat in harmony with nature, the same rhythm of sea and mountain that birthed their ancestors. They learned the art of resilience, to bow before storms but never break, to lose battles but never surrender their soul. The rice fields mirrored the sky, the rivers curved like dragons guarding the valleys, and the songs of the people still spoke of unity, courage, and love. Children learned early the tale of the 100 eggs, and when they asked, "Are we truly the children of gods?" their elders smiled and answered, "We are children of the land itself, of earth and water, of the mountain and the sea, where the dragon met the fairy and called us into being." The immortal guardians return in the quiet hours before dawn, when the world stood between sleep and waking. Some said they could still see the ancient forms of their forebears, a dragon of light twisting through the mist, scales glimmering like stars, a woman of clouds, her gown flowing across the peaks. They did not speak, yet their presence filled the hearts of those who looked upon them with peace and courage. The message was clear: they had never truly left. Every victory, every act of compassion, every dream of freedom was the living echo of that first love between heaven and sea, the legacy of unity through war and peace, through sorrow and triumph. The Vietnamese people carried one truth across ages: to remember is to live forever. So they built temples to their ancestors, lit incense in humble homes, and sang the stories of old by firelight. Each offering, each story, was a bridge between the mortal and the divine. From these sacred memories, their strength was reborn again and again. For what is a people if not the living memory of their gods? And so, the spirit of LCC, Long Quan and UC became the essence of Vietnam itself, not a myth of the past, but the heartbeat of a nation that never dies, the eternal bloodline. As the sun climbed once more over the red fields, the wind carried a song across the land, the song of unity, the song of remembrance. It spoke of mountains older than time, of rivers that never ceased to flow, of a people who, though tested by fate, would always rise anew. The dragon and the fairy looked down from their thrones of mist and sea, their hands entwined as they watched their descendants thrive. "Look," said UC softly, "how far they have come." "Yes," answered LCC, Long Quan, "and how far they will go." Their voices merged with the wind, spreading across the land, through temples, forests, cities, and hearts. "Children of the dragon and the fairy," they whispered, "remember who you are. As long as you stand together, no power shall end your song." And thus, the people of Vietnam rose each morning beneath that promise, a living echo of the divine, a nation forged from love, courage, and eternal light. Epilogue. When storms pass and the skies clear, one can still see the mountains reflected in the sea, as if the dragon and fairy still gaze upon each other, their love binding heaven and earth forevermore. And so the legend endures, written not in books, but in the very soul of a nation, the eternal bloodline of the children of the dragon and the fairy.